Hello and welcome to the Product-Led Festival. I am Shailesh Nalwani, the head of product at Zenbird. For many businesses, real-time communication via chat is quickly becoming the new standard for consumer and community engagement. Since the pandemic, the need for in-app communication has accelerated. Real-time chat, once confined to the dedicated messenger apps, is now essential for most social and business applications. Indeed, product managers everywhere have had to quickly adapt to this new reality. At Zenbird, we have always thought of our customer success as being the ultimate measure of our own. So it has been heartening to see our customers use our chat, voice, and video APIs to increase their community's engagement and foster stronger connections. We are proud to sponsor this festival, which centers around exchanging ideas and products for a better tomorrow. I encourage you to tune into the great sessions, as well as connect with other creative problem solvers, such as yourself, on the festival's Slack channel.
Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Product-Led Festival. I'm really excited to be here, and I hope you are all too. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our first speaker for today. It's Sarah Tortoli, who is lead PM at Adecco Group, and Sarah is going to talk to us about implementing OKRs from scratch. We're going to have a couple of polls, keep it interactive, and I've put the link to Sarah's newsletter at the top of the chat as well. So please click on that, and I'll be rotating that with her LinkedIn and some other bits and bobs she has going on as well. So without further ado, Sarah, take it away.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you for having me. Let me just share my screen first. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. And hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us at the Product-Led Alliance Festival. So let me introduce first myself. My name is Sarah Tortoli, and I'm a lead product manager at the Adecco Group, where I focus on AI and NLP, and I live in Berlin. As Heather mentioned, in my free time, I also write a monthly newsletter on product and human tinkering, which is called the Plunge Club. And you can also ping me on Twitter and on LinkedIn, where you can find me at Sarah Tortoli. I see the chat popping up, so let us know also where you're coming from. So I'm very glad to be here with you today to share my experience with OKR. I first came into contact with OKR back when I was a product manager at Zalando. But to be totally honest with you, I didn't really appreciate the methodology until much later, when I had the opportunity to actually set them up from scratch, both in my current organization, but also by helping out other teams setting OKR from scratch for themselves. And so I picked up in the process a few know-how and a few best practices, but also some of the most common pitfalls that we can encounter when setting OKR. And today I want to share with you some of those. But first, before we jump into the topic, I want to set the OKR for the session. Our objective is going to be become an OKR expert, and our key result is going to be 100% of attendance know how to set OKR from scratch. Okay? So remember that this is our OKR. I'm going to ask you at the end of the session. So what are OKR? I'm assuming that probably 100% of the people in this chat are familiar with the concept of OKR. But just so that we're all on the same page, OKR stands for Objective and Key Results. And they have four main components. They have a vision, or at least a long-term strategy. And in the background of this vision and strategy, we set our objectives. Objectives are in turn broken down into key results. And then for each key results, we have a set of initiatives, which are the things that we think might help us fulfill our key results. OKR are very, very beneficial when implemented correctly. They foster a sense of common purpose and a shared vision across an entire organization. And they also allow a team to focus on delivering what really matters while filtering out things that actually don't, or that are not important, at least. The concept seems pretty straightforward, right? But beware of the pitfalls, because pitfalls are just around the corner. I will tell you more about those pitfalls in a second, but for now, let's just cluster them into three main topics. The first topic is that sometimes OKR are set output-oriented versus outcome-oriented. In this scenario, OKR actually turns into tasks or KPI if you're lucky, and they miss the entire concept of actually delivering on an outcome instead of a short-term output. The second most common pitfall is what I call the magic wand. Okay, so we think of OKR as the main key to solve all our problems, whereas they're just a tool, a methodology, and as such, they require a lot of preparation and also a lot of reflection. And the third most common pitfall is when we play it safe, as opposed to be daring. So, what do we need to know before actually setting OKRs? The first thing that we need to know is that we need to start with the end goal in mind. We need to have a vision, a long-term strategy. And this vision and long-term strategy is the background or the grounding element upon which we build our objectives. In the absence of a long-term vision or a long-term strategy at the very least, our objective will become very, very short-term lived. So they will become very roof shot as opposed to be moonshot, as opposed to be daring and long-term oriented. And when I say we need to have a common vision, a long-term strategy, I'm not just referring to the overall company vision and overall company strategy. I'm actually referring also to the long-term vision and strategy of your product. Because as a product manager, if you are not able to visualize a long-term vision for your product, how can others believe in it? How can your team? How can other stakeholders? The second element that we need to consider before setting OKRs is we need to set actually the right key results at all levels of the organization. OKRs, key results need to be measurable, where the objective can also have a qualitative nature and can be very broad and inspirational. Key results need to be quantitative and very specific. So they need to contain a number or a percentage or a date, or they need to have a binary nature, meaning yes or no. If your team is not able to answer the question, when are we successful? When can we consider fulfill this OKR? Then probably you're not setting the right key results. Also, key results need to be time-bound and they need to be very specific, maximum 3 to 5. So up until now, I'm pretty sure most of you are already familiar with what I'm saying. But one of the most common pitfalls that I saw when actually implementing it from scratch is that when setting key results especially, we are not considering the concept of cascading. What do I mean by that? Depending on the level of the organization where you are, you need to consider that your key results are going to be the objective of another team or another department. And therefore, if you end up setting your key results very, very specific and very task-oriented as opposed to outcome-oriented, then of course, the team and the department that is going to take your key results as their objective will end up writing tasks instead of key results. But let's make an example. So let's say you're working for an hypothetical company and the company key results is you need to increase the revenues on sale by 30% compared to the previous year. And you're part of the sales department, okay? And you take these key results of the company and you turn it in your own objective, which is have the best revenue stream of all quarter this year. Note that I have rephrased the key results of the company, okay? But I'm aiming to fulfill the 30%. So I write the following KR. Meet 70 new leads, call 150 of the hottest lead, create 4 new offers by the end of the year. Question to you, and you can vote in the polls. What do you think of these key results? So did you vote? Let's see the results of the polls. Okay, 1 second. Most of you, okay. Changing by the minute. Almost there, okay. So most of you, it's almost a tie, but most of you are saying that they are looking awesome. To me, if I have to be honest with you, those key results could use some improvements. Because those key results are actually tasks. They are not really key results. They are telling you exactly what you need to do. They are not orienting you toward an outcome. This is a clear output, right? And furthermore, even if you meet 70 new leads, call 150 new of the hottest new leads, etc., how are you to be sure that you're gonna fulfill your objective of having the best revenue stream of all quarters? So perhaps a better way to phrase this key result is, for example, increase closure on deals by 20%, okay? We're not telling the team what they need to do. So we're not telling the sales department, you need to do this, this, and that. We're telling them what they need to achieve. And then we can further help the team by breaking down these key results into initiatives. Initiatives could be segment leads with closure on deals above 12%, increase time spent on calls, and so forth. Furthermore, after initiative, you can break them down in tasks. Note that I could have used the task of the previous slide and put them here among the tasks. So now that we got the gist of the objective and the key results, I have 1 or 2 actually more consideration to share with you. First thing, OKR are just a tool. Unlike the fairy godmother in Cinderella, they don't turn the pumpkin into the coach. They do need a lot of preparation beforehand, so they cannot just be set in a matter of hours, and they need regular checkpoints. Furthermore, as a very good product manager and friend of mine always says, if they are too easy to come up with, and you already know how to achieve them before starting, then you're probably not setting the right OKRs. Now, let's go to the practical know-how. How do we actually set OKR from scratch? First thing first, who define OKRs? And I would love you also to share your experience in the chat of who sets the OKR in your organization. But as a rule of thumb, OKR are set by the team, not just by the team lead in cooperation maybe with other team lead of other departments, but they're actually set by the team who is called to fulfill this OKR. This, of course, requires a little bit of effort and work beforehand, such as you need to gather already all the facts before having an OKR session. You need to present these facts and send pre-reads to your team. And of course, afterward, you need to make sure that they're actually aligned and to get the buy-in from the other side of the organization. But there is also a huge opportunities here if the team sets up the OKR, which is they might help increasing the sense of ownership of the team, but also the team spirit. So here is an idea. What if you make it a team event? And this is actually what I do personally with my team. So we take one full day off and we set the morning to reflect. So we run a very big retrospective for all the activities of the previous quarter. And then we go into our planning session. And of course, there is plenty of time to have fun in between and also afterward. Here, I share with you what an OKR planning session looks like on Miro for my team. So we always start by reminding ourselves what is the vision of both the company and of the product. Of course, this is just a one slider that you see here at the top, but it's tied to a living and briefing document. Then we compare how far we got from the previous quarter. Okay, so we review the OKR of the previous quarter, and also we bring in the business needs. What's out there in the market? What can we do next? Next, you see the topic session. And here is where we put the committed topic versus the proposals. Committed topics are the topics that we're called by the organization to fulfill. Those are business opportunity that might come from the head of a company itself or from obligation that we have from other departments. And then we have the proposal. Things that excite us, things that we want to work on, opportunity that we see in the market at the moment or that are left by our competitors. At the end of the session, our goal is to fill the bottom part of this Miro board, which is coming up with our own set of objectives and key results, and also some of the initiatives. Initiatives that most of the time, if viable, are then turned into epics. After this session, of course, I need to align with the rest of the organization before finalizing the OKR. Which leads me to step number 2, which is once you set the OKR, what happens after? After, it's time to execute. So once you have finalized the OKR and aligned them with the rest of the organization, then you need to create, let's call it a squad. Or you need to nominate people who are responsible to drive and to fulfill this OKR inside the team. OKR needs to also enter the backlog because they need to be part of your team organization. There needs to be a constant reminder. And therefore, you can tie them to DEAM or to epics or to both in case you have both. In my team, for example, we do have both DEAMs and epics, and therefore, we use both. Small note on here, if you're creating an epic that you cannot tie to an OKR, perhaps that's an indication that you should not enter your backlog, at least for the quarter. Final point, there needs to be a regular checkpoint. So just writing OKR at the beginning of the quarter and then not looking at them until the end of the quarter proves to be not highly beneficial in my experience. And therefore, at the end of each development cycle, can be a sprint, can be whatever other measure you're using, you need to have regular checkpoints with gradings. But let's make an example. So let's say that you are working in a B2C company, okay, and you have 3 key results, which are becoming an intelligent product, so it's tied to artificial intelligence. Another one is wow our customers, and the third and last one is drive adoption. Let's examine, for example, what the second OKR might look like, which is wow our customer, okay? So I use Notion to help me illustrate this, but you can all use whatever other tools you are comfortable using or is used by your organization. So it can look something like this. You might have the quarter of reference, you might have the progress, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. And also, you might have a theme. I mentioned the concept of theme. For example, here the theme could be customer centricity. Of course, you have your key results, your key results, which could be release the new super awesome feature that you've been testing for a while, increase your sign-up rate by a certain percentage, or increase your NPS score. With each key results, you will have some epics attached to it. As a rule of thumb, at least one epic per key results, but you might have more, okay? So let's say that in this case, you have one epic per key results. And then you have responsible people. So the people inside your team who are responsible, assigned to fulfill this objective. And of course, this objective cannot be fulfilled in isolation. And therefore, you need to have a track record of which other department is called to fulfill this OKR alongside you. In this example, it could be sales, user research department, or marketing. Finally, you need to have regular checkpoint. So let's assume you're working in sprint or whatever other delivery unit you're using. At the end of each development cycle, you need to have a regular touch point, possibly with a grading that tells you how far you're going. Let's see, in this example, we have had 3 sprints and we are already at 0.9, which means that we're actually achieved our OKR. I will open now the floor to the question, if there are any.
Thanks so much, Sarah. We've had quite a few questions popping in, and everyone, don't be shy if you've got questions. We've got a few minutes for them now. We've got one here from Paolo. Hey, Paolo. Why should initiatives be linked to key results rather than to objectives? For instance, I may have an initiative impacting 2 or 3 KRs within the same objective.
So usually I only have, as I said before, objective are very, very specific. Key results are very, very specific to the objective. And therefore, I don't repeat the same key results in different objectives. This is why I tie it very specifically to initiatives, if that answers your question.
Nice. We've got one here from Agni. How to combine with the company's OKRs, though? Any tool that you can propose to cascade companies' OKRs to other departments so that you can formulate their own OKRs respectively?
I just use Confluence, for example, in my team to track the progress of our OKR. And so I have the company OKR, and the one that are specifically assigned to our team that we're called to fulfill. And I present them also in the Miro board, right? So in the Miro board that I showed you before, we also have the company OKR, and in particular, the one that we're actually called to fulfill. What we do normally, they end up in the committed session, usually. And then what we do is simply to perhaps rephrase them in a more qualitative way to make it a bit more inspirational, if needed.
We've got one here from Amir. Is the objective the responsibility of the product manager or of the business?
They are the responsibility of everyone. They are the responsibility of the team who is called to fulfill them. And therefore, if to close this OKR, you need assistance of other department, then this objective needs to be reflected also in other departments, right? So an organization doesn't work in isolation. So most of the time, you actually need the help of other parts of the organization to fulfill yours.
Nice. We've had a couple of people asking to see particular slides or templates again. Anyone, if you do want the slides, you can actually download them yourself from the handouts tab as a PDF. So that's just at the top of the chat. You see it says chat and then polls handouts. You can grab them from there. Victoria would like to know, when it comes to involving your teams in OKR setting, do you involve design, dev, and product? Anyone else?
I involve design, developers, data scientists as well, because I have quite a few of data scientists in my team. and I involve also actually members that are not really part of my team, but works really closely with my team, because they are also responsible to help us drive the OKR. So it's a good idea to involve as many people, work very closely with you, that you think you need help, that might help you to fulfill the OKR. But mandatory requirements, all the members of my team.
Nice. Richard says, key result is the same as a KPI. Is that correct?
No, it actually is not. I love to say that KPI are for products, but not for people. Key results are for people. KPI are usually measures that they tell you, or rather, they are questions that you have regarding your products. Okay, and therefore you set some metrics to track what you're wondering about your products. Those are KPIs. Key results instead are output that you want to fulfill. So they are not exactly the same thing. So KPI might be, I don't know, increase, it might be, I don't know, conversion rate. That might be a KPI, right? Key results instead tend to have a more long-term output-oriented feature. Sometimes for certain key measure, you might have a KPI that ends up also in your key results, but that's not the rule. Overall, they are not the same thing.
Nice. And following on from that, Heba, apologies if I said your name wrong, would like to see an example to differentiate between KPIs and OKRs, if you have one.
Okay, let me see. So I can tell you that one of an example of that comes to mind, it's one related to our data and AI objective. So we had one data and AI objective, which was becoming an intelligent product, right? I shared it earlier. And an example of the key result is build and deliver a functional data warehouse, right? That's my key result. A KPI for this will be, for example, the velocity in which I build this data warehouse, or could be, I don't know, the cost for the data warehouse and so forth. I don't know if that's answer your question.
Nice. We've got a couple more questions. We've got a few more minutes. We kind of run a little bit. One from Bennett here. How many people did you work with to build the OKRs from scratch?
In my organization or in general? In my organization, I work with, well, actually, to be honest, I first started implementing them in my team, and then the organization kind of took notice. And so I helped then other teams, also another product manager, set them up. So I did a very similar presentation that I did today also inside my organization to help them come up with it.
Nice. Victoria would like to know, do objectives and key results change every quarter, or do they carry over?
That depends. Key results, hopefully we close them at the end of the quarter if we are successful. If we're not successful, it might happen that unfortunately they do carry over. Objective, that depends. If they're really tied to the vision of the product, of the real long-term vision, then you might carry them over. I like to carry some over. For example, I'm building a chatbot at the moment, and my goal is to build the most intelligent conversational chatbot out there, right? And therefore, I can carry over this objective, just changing the key results every quarter along the way. And every quarter, I will ask myself, what do I need to do this quarter that gets me closer to fulfill the objective to be the most intelligent conversational chatbot out there? And to your point, if you carry them over because you didn't manage to close that key result the first time around, that's still okay. An important thing of the OKR is that they do have a component of failure inside. It's okay to fail if you've been moonshot enough. You're still much closer, probably, at the end of the quarter that you were at the beginning before setting the OKR. But if you do not challenge yourself, if you cannot even imagine it, then you're never going to get there. So better perhaps fail and try than playing it safe and not try at all.
Awesome. Well, we've got time for one more question. Everyone stick around because we've got another poll before we round up. This last one's from Amber. How do you go about reconciling different OKRs across different teams, like engineering, UX, operations, etc.?
So in this case, those figures, so engineering, UX, etc., are part of my team. So there is no need to coordinate these different moving parts together. That being said, as I mentioned, I don't operate as a single entity inside the company. So we do have other departments which we need to align with, or other product teams as well. We might have dependencies there. And so the way we do it, after we set the OKR together, before finalizing those OKR, also with my team, I take them and we have an alignment session. Okay, before finalizing them. And I make sure that if I have a dependency on any other team, this is reflected also in their OKR. Otherwise, we won't be able to fulfill it. So it's okay to fail, but if you know you're going to fail because other teams cannot work with you to fulfill the OKR, then perhaps you might revise your strategy here.
Nice. Thank you very much, Sarah. Thanks for answering all of those questions.
If you guys have more questions, please feel free to ping me on Twitter or on LinkedIn. I'm always available to answer. And also, I will be writing about OKR and a bit more on this methodology in my next issue of the Plunge Club. So if you want to subscribe, there is that.
Nice. And I've just added your LinkedIn to the top of the chat. So everyone, please do connect with Sarah if you want more information. Sarah, would you like to announce the final poll before we wrap up?
Yeah. Let's see. I was moonshot enough to state 100% of attendants know how to set the OKR.
Let's see what people think.
Let's see if I clarified.
Drum roll. 1 out of 1 so far.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, it's looking good.
It's looking good. I was a bit moonshot, perhaps.
Yeah.
Well, but actually, the majority, yes, is ready to add OKR. And for those who are still confused, please do reach out. I'm glad to have a chat or to answer any question you might have on this topic.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. A huge virtual round of applause. You're getting a lot of love in the chat. Fantastic way to kick off the festival. And we look forward to hearing more from you soon.
Thank you so much, Heather, for having me. And thank you all for staying with us.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.